Some mornings, you just know something bad is coming. Even if the sun is shining, even if the coffee smells perfect, something inside you just knows. That morning felt heavy from the start. I woke up alone. Sam had left early or maybe stayed out late. I didn't even check anymore. It had become routine. The silence in our house felt louder than any fight ever could. I stared out the kitchen window, coffee cooling in my hands, wondering when exactly things had started slipping between us. It wasn't always like this. We used to laugh. We used to dream about silly things like building a treehouse, even though we didn't have kids yet. Now, the dreams had dried up, and all that was left was silence. When Sam came home that night, I thought maybe stupidly that he was going to apologize, or at least try. Instead, he sat across from me at the table and said, "I can't do this anymore." At first, I didn't even understand what he meant. I blinked at him the way you do when someone says something so unexpected, so absurd that your brain can't process it. Then he added, "I've been seeing someone else for 8 months. Her name's Nikki. 8 months, 8 months of lies while I stayed up late worrying about him. 8 months of pretending while I worked overtime to save for our second anniversary trip. He forgot to plan 8 months and he still had the nerve to say it like it was no big deal. I asked him to leave. I don't even remember the words. They just spilled out, sharp, messy, raw. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just pointed at the door and like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. He packed a bag and walked out of the home we built together. When the door slammed shut behind him, the silence rushed in like a tidal wave. It crushed me. I sank to the floor, my back against the kitchen cabinet, the cold seeping into my skin, and I just sat there. For minutes, maybe hours, I don't know. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer. I hadn't even brushed my teeth yet because if Sam could throw away 4 years of love, 2 years of marriage for someone who had barely started her career, then I could throw away the hope I'd been stupid enough to hold on to. The divorce process moved fast, maybe because Sam wanted it over, maybe because deep down he knew he didn't deserve to fight me. I got the house, I got the car, I got a settlement big enough to rebuild whatever pieces of my life I needed to. People said I should be happy about that. "At least you came out ahead," they said. But I didn't feel ahead. I felt hollow. Winning on paper doesn't heal you. It doesn't tuck you in at night or tell you that you're still lovable. It doesn't erase the echo of every fight, every fake smile, every moment you thought you were building something real. Sam didn't just cheat on me. He stole the version of myself that believed in him. And without that, without her, I didn't know who I was anymore. I drifted through those first few weeks like a ghost in my own life, wearing the right clothes, saying the right things, smiling at the right moments. Inside, though, it was just rubble, just ruins of what once was. And the worst part, even with everything he'd done, a part of me still missed him. Still reached for my phone some nights thinking maybe he'd text to say he was sorry, thinking maybe, just maybe he would realize what he threw away. But he didn't. He never did. And deep down, I knew he never would. Because the man I had loved didn't exist anymore. Maybe he never really did. The days after Sam left, blurred together like watercolors bleeding on wet paper. One melted into another until I couldn't tell where Monday ended and Thursday began. I woke up, I went to work, I came home, I existed, I was good at pretending. If you had seen me at the grocery store smiling politely at the cashier, you might have thought I was fine. If you had passed me on the street, earbuds and head down, you might have assumed I was just another woman lost in her podcast, but inside I was empty. The house felt too big. Every corner held memories I wasn't ready to face. The den in the couch where Sam used to sit, the mug he always used still shoved in the back of the cabinet, the stupid framed photo of us at the beach still hanging by the stairs. Because I couldn't bear to take it down, I tried to fill the silence. I blasted music while I cooked. I left the TV on when I wasn't watching. I invited friends over for wine and laughter that always felt a little too loud, a little too forced. Nothing worked. At night, when the world quieted down, the loneliness would creep in. Curl up next to me in bed like an unwelcome guest. I thought winning the divorce would make me feel powerful. I thought getting the house, the car, the money, all of it would mean something. But the truth is, it didn't feel like winning. It felt like standing in the wreckage of a life I thought I was building, clutching scraps of what used to be. And then the email came. It was our third wedding anniversary. Or it would have been. I had already been feeling low that day, raw, exposed, like an open wound. I had almost made it through without crying. Almost. Then my phone buzzed. Sam email. Subject line, "Happy anniversary." My heart dropped. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I still hoped deep down that he would apologize, that he would say he missed me, that he regretted everything. Instead, he sent me pictures, photos of him and Nikki celebrating their engagement. her hand resting on his chest, flashing a diamond ring. His smile wide and easy, the same smile he used to save just for me, and the words he wrote alongside those pictures. God, you were just a placeholder. Nikki is my true love. You're not capable of real love and you never were. I won at life, you just won on paper. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I should have deleted it. I should have blocked him all over again and walked away. But instead, I read it, every awful, vicious word, over and over and over. The thing about heartbreak is it makes you doubt everything, not just the relationship you lost, but yourself. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was unlovable. Maybe I was too cold, too complicated, too much. I sank to the floor in the living room, clutching a throw pillow against my chest like it could shield me from the hurt. The house. My house now suddenly felt like a tomb, a mausoleum built from broken promises. For the first time in months, I let myself sob. Ugly, messy, shaking sobs that left me gasping for air. I wasn't crying because I missed him. Not really. I was crying because of everything he took from me, the future we were supposed to have, the trust I gave so freely, the belief that love could be safe. He stole all of it, and he didn't even look back. The worst part, even after everything, part of me still felt like it was my fault. If I had been prettier, if I had been more exciting, if I had tried harder, maybe then he would have stayed. Grief does that to you. It twists your mind into knots. It turns you into the villain in your own story. I spent that night curled up on the couch, the TV playing some old sitcom I wasn't even watching, just trying to survive the hours until morning. I don't know when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, the house was filled with that strange gray light that makes everything look tired. And sitting there, wrapped in a blanket, puffy-eyed and exhausted, I realized something. I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't let Sam win. Because that's what he wanted, wasn't it? For me to stay broken, for me to stay small, and maybe I wasn't ready to fight back yet, but I could start by surviving. One breath at a time, one step at a time. Because if he thought he could erase me that easily, he didn't know me at all. It's strange how life can shift on a single moment. 1 second, you're drowning in heartbreak. The next, something clicks. Not all at once, but enough to crack the darkness just a little. For me, it happened the night after Sam's email. I was scrolling through the photos he had sent. Masochistic, I know, and that's when I noticed it, a face. In the background, half hidden behind the tangle of party decorations and forced smiles, I leaned closer, heart hammering in my chest. It was Jonathan. I hadn't seen him in years. A distant relative, someone you nod to at awkward family weddings. Not close enough to text on holidays, but familiar enough that seeing him at Sam's engagement party felt wrong. Why was he there? Curiosity, sharp and sudden, snapped me out of my spiral. I grabbed my phone and texted my mom, attaching the photo. "Is this Jonathan?" I asked. She called me almost immediately. "Yes, that's him." She said, "Why? What's going on?" I told her everything about Sam, about the cheating, about the email that still made my stomach turn. And when I explained that Jonathan was apparently connected to Sam's new business venture, possibly as an investor, my mom went very quiet. Later that night, after some frantic phone calls and half-whispered conversations, the pieces started falling into place. Jonathan, it turned out, was considering investing a significant chunk of money into Sam's business. Sam had used his father's old connections to charm his way into Jonathan's good graces. Of course he had. Of course Sam's shiny, polished mask was still working on people who didn't know the real him. I sat there, phone clutched tightly in my hand. Heart pounding, a war waged inside me. One part of me whispered, "Stay out of it, let it go, move on." But another part, the part Sam tried to break, whispered back louder, "Tell the truth." I knew it wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about hurting Sam back. It was about protecting someone else from believing the same lies I once did. The next morning, with my hands shaking slightly, I reached out to Jonathan's wife. We weren't close, but I figured if anyone would hear me out, it would be her. And to my surprise, she listened, really listened. I told her everything. The affair, the lies, the email. I forwarded the screenshots. I laid it all bare. No embellishments, no dramatics. "I'm not telling you what to do," I said quietly. "I just thought you should know the kind of man you're dealing with." After I hung up, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like a warrior riding into battle. I just felt tired. Relieved, maybe, like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying alone for too long. I didn't expect anything to happen. Honestly, I thought they'd probably shrug it off, think I was bitter, move forward with the deal anyway, and for a while, I let myself forget about it. I focused on small things, making my bed every morning, trying new recipes, Remembering to drink water, little victories. Then out of nowhere, another email from Sam, and this time he wasn't gloating. He was begging. Apparently, after our conversation, Jonathan had backed out completely. No polite excuses, no second chances, just a clean, decisive no. Without that investment, Sam's entire business plan collapsed. He had already quit his job, already started hiring people based on promises he couldn't keep. Now he was staring down the barrel of failure, and he was desperate. Please, he wrote, talk to Jonathan. Fix this. I'll even make you a partner if you help me. I read the email 3 times, blinking in disbelief. This man who told me I was a placeholder, who mocked my pain, who treated me like trash, was now asking for my help. Life is cruelly poetic sometimes. I sat back in my chair, a slow, stunned smile spreading across my face. Not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of something deeper, something stronger. Power. For the first time since Sam walked out of our marriage, I felt powerful again. Not because he was failing, but because he no longer had any power over me. His insults didn't define me, his cruelty didn't own me, his desperation wasn't my responsibility. I stared out the window, the late afternoon sun casting long golden lines across the floor, and realized I was free, maybe not completely healed, maybe not whole yet, but free. And that was more valuable than anything Sam could ever offer. At first, I felt guilty, really guilty. You would think after everything Sam had done, the lies, the betrayal, the cruelty, I would feel nothing but satisfaction seeing his plans crumble. But that's not how healing works. That's not how hearts work. Even good people sometimes feel guilty when they have every reason not to. I sat there that night rereading his desperate email over and over again. The offers, the begging, the promises, I could almost hear his voice in my head. The same voice that used to tell me I was too much, too emotional, too dramatic. Now it was pleading with me to save him. And for a second, just a second, I wondered if maybe I should not for him, but for me. Maybe helping him would prove I wasn't the cold, vindictive woman he painted me to be. Maybe forgiveness would make me feel lighter. I talked to my friends. I talked to my mom. I even talked to a therapist. I found through one of those late-night desperate Google searches. Every single one of them said the same thing. You don't owe him anything. You didn't ruin his life. You told the truth. He did this to himself, and deep down I knew they were right. Still, the guilt lingered like a ghost clinging to my skin. So I decided to face it head on. I replied to Sam's email, short, polite, firm. I told him that while I appreciated his offer, I wasn't interested in partnering with someone who once told me I was unworthy of love. I reminded him gently but clearly that I hadn't told Jonathan to pull out. I had simply told the truth. Jonathan made his own decision, as any smart investor would. And then, with a deep breath, I hit send and blocked his email address for good. No more windows left open for him to crawl through. No more invitations to pull me back into his chaos. It was time to choose myself. The days that followed felt different, lighter. Like I could breathe a little easier. I started doing things I had put off for too long. Simple things, but important. I cleared out Sam's leftover junk from the garage. I painted the guest room a soft blue and turned it into a cozy reading nook. I bought fresh flowers every week, even though it felt silly at first to spend money just to make myself smile. Little by little, I reclaimed the spaces he had once occupied. I filled them with pieces of myself instead. One evening, after a long day of rearranging furniture and arguing with IKEA instructions, I sat on my living room floor, sweaty and exhausted, and laughed, really laughed. It wasn't graceful or pretty. It was messy, hiccuping laughter that left tears streaming down my face. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't laughing to cover up pain. I wasn't laughing to convince anyone, including myself, that I was okay. I was laughing because I was okay. And maybe I had been okay for longer than I realized. Healing wasn't some grand moment. It wasn't a movie scene with swelling music and dramatic speeches. It was this, a Tuesday night surrounded by boxes and half-assembled bookshelves, feeling a strange, delicious sense of peace settle into my bones. I wasn't fully healed yet. There were still days when memories ambushed me, when I smelled Sam's old cologne on a stranger in the grocery store and my chest tightened. There were still nights when loneliness crept in like a tide I couldn't fight, but those moments didn't drown me anymore. They didn't define me. I was learning to let them wash over me and then let them go. Somewhere along the way, I realized something important. Sam had tried to make me feel small. He wanted me to believe that I was hard to love, impossible to trust, destined to be alone. But he was wrong. The truth was, I had loved him fiercely. I had trusted him fully. I had built a home, a life, a future in my heart for us. Those weren't weaknesses, they were strengths. And if he couldn't see that, if he couldn't cherish that, then the loss was his, not mine. I wasn't broken, I wasn't unworthy. I was still here, still standing, still loving in a world that sometimes makes it so hard to keep your heart open. And that was something to be proud of. Freedom doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it tiptoes in so quietly that you don't even realize you're free until you look around and realize you're not carrying the weight anymore. That's what it felt like. Weeks passed after I blocked Sam's last desperate email. No more messages, no more drama, just quiet. And for once, the quiet wasn't heavy, it wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. I started waking up before my alarm, not because of anxiety, but because I was excited for the day. Little things felt new again. A good cup of coffee, a slow morning walk, a playlist full of songs that had nothing to do with heartbreak. Then the news trickled in. Sam and Nikki had broken up. Mutual friends, the few we still shared, told me through careful, almost apologetic texts. Apparently, Nikki had finally seen through him. Maybe it was the lies, maybe it was the desperation, maybe it was the way he treated the people who once loved him. Whatever it was, she left. And Sam, once so smug, so sure of his win, was now completely alone. When I heard, I didn't feel anger, I didn't feel triumph. I felt nothing, and that nothing. That was the greatest victory of all, because he no longer had a hold on me. Not his betrayal, not his words, not his downfall. He was just someone I used to know. I spent that evening sitting on my porch, a glass of wine in one hand, a book in the other. Clover, my new feisty little black cat, curled up in my lap. The air was warm. The sky was streaked with soft pinks and golds. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I felt full of hope, full of possibilities. I thought about all the things I could do now. Trips I could take, new hobbies I could try, people I could meet, not because I needed someone to complete me, but because I was already whole. Sam had taken so much from me, but he hadn't taken everything. He hadn't taken my kindness, my resilience, my ability to love fiercely and fully even after being broken. And maybe, just maybe, the best parts of me had survived precisely because I refused to let his betrayal define me. A few days later, I found myself at the local animal shelter again. Not because I needed another cat. Clover was enough chaos for now, but because I realized I wanted to give back. I signed up to volunteer walking dogs, cleaning cages, playing with abandoned kittens who still believed the world was good. And in those small, quiet moments, surrounded by creatures who had every reason to give up but didn't, I found pieces of myself I didn't even know were missing. Hope, trust, joy. One afternoon, while helping a shy Labrador pup learn to trust again, it hit me. Healing doesn't mean you're never sad. Healing doesn't mean you forget what hurt you. Healing means you build a life bigger than your pain. A life that leaves room for new dreams, new laughter, new love. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was building something beautiful, something that didn't need to be validated by anyone else, something that was mine. Sometimes late at night when the house is still and Clover is snoring softly by my side, I catch myself smiling for no reason at all. Not because everything is perfect, but because for once, I don't need it to be. I'm not waiting for someone to come and fix me. I'm not searching for missing pieces. I am enough, right here, right now, and if love finds me again someday, wonderful. If not, I'll still be here, living, laughing, loving in a life I built with my own two hands. Because I'm not what was done to me. I'm what I chose to become after. And maybe that's the real victory. So now, sitting here sharing my story with you, I can't help but wonder, if you were me, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent? Would you have tried to fix what was broken? Would you have fought for someone who didn't fight for you? Or would you too have chosen to walk away, to heal, to grow, to start over? I really want to know, because sometimes sharing the journey makes it a little less lonely, and sometimes it reminds us that we're all a lot stronger than we think.